Controversial question of the week.
This week's question is based on something that was recently trending on Twitter, where favourite doctor was trending, and everyone was sharing their preference, who's your favourite doctor? And I was thinking about this, because everyone's got their favourite doctor. Everyone's got their, here's my doctor. But who was the best doctor? Because I reckon I have a favourite doctor, but I don't know if they're the best doctor. Because for me, personally, and I'm going to be a bit new series biased here because that's the way I am. Obviously, I'm thinking David Tennant was probably my doctor in a way, because that's where I really got into the show. But I'm is he the best doctor? As in, is he the best doctor? I know I'm just emphasizing different words, because I'm kind of I felt in a way, Matt Smith was a better doctor than David Tennant was, because the doctor of David Tennant's here was great, but he was a bit more of a sort of traditional heroic type. Whereas I feel the Matt Smith doctor had that, but also had this kind of otherworldliness, which you also get with some of the classic series doctors. Whereas I think Peter Capaldi, went too far the other direction and became a bit too like that, and then kind of found his feet later on. Was I feel Matt Smith kind of nailed that tightrope from the start. So I think maybe Matt Smith is one of, if not the best doctors. But I mean, what do you think, Morgan? I mean, do you have a favourite and who's the best?
It is a different question. So if you're talking favourites, I find it very hard to decide, because I from the classic series, I love Patrick Troughton's Second Doctor. I also love Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor. Actually, he's one of my favourites.
You're such a hipster.
I know, right? I didn't say Peter Cushing in the Dalek movies, or Richard E. Grant, The Scream of the Shalka. No, although I do quite like that Ultimate Ninth Doctor.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty good. No, or of the new series Doctors, Matt is my favorite, I think. But you're right in that who is the best Doctor is a different question. For me, if you're trying to be objective about it, I think you'd have to say Patrick Troughton, because William Hartnell's take on it is there's the cliche, he's grouchy all the time and he's grumpy all the time and he's a darker doctor. It's not really true. It's a little bit more true at the beginning, but then he very much softens and becomes more the character you recognize. But I do think that Patrick Troughton's Doctor is more recognizable as the character that then sustained throughout all his successors. And I feel everyone who followed has been doing some version of what Patrick Troughton did, where the Doctor can be dark and he can be mysterious, he or she, but they can also be very silly and clown-like and childlike. And like I say, every Doctor that has followed has sort of picked up that baton and run with it and twisted it and put their own take on it. But for me, you wouldn't have any of those performances they wouldn't be quite the way they were without Patrick Troughton having done it first. So I would say he is the best by definition.
That's very convincing. I like that. I mean, I think I was really sure you were going to say Tom Baker, because I was kind of umming and ahhing about saying Tom Baker, because he just feels like the Doctor. But then I'm kind of I guess Patrick Troughton kind of defined the role as we know it, didn't he? He was the beta version. He was the beta tester who he was the first Doctor who had regenerated, which is one of the key components of the character as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not only was he kind of set the mold in a way, but that was the first time really that Doctor Who could have just absolutely flopped, right? They could have changed the lead actor and it could have absolutely just all gone down the toilet. And not only did that not happen, but the show continued on in his very capable hands, and then for years and years and decades to come. So the fact that it didn't go wrong there in 1966, I think, is testament to Patrick Troughton, to his skill as an actor, and also the willingness that he had and that the production team at the time had to try something slightly different from what William Hartnell had done. If they just cast someone who looked and sounded and acted like William Hartnell, it wouldn't have worked. They went for something completely crazy and different and very Doctor Who in that sense. And it worked. So again, the fact that he created something that then allowed the show to succeed and survive without him. Even he kind of guaranteed its survival even after he'd gone. And this is another reason I think Tom Baker is iconic, and he's possibly the most, maybe not now, maybe it's sort of, he asked the general public to come, to draw up in their heads this idea of who is Doctor who is the Doctor. Some, depending on age, some might say Tom, some might say David Tennant, some might say Matt, some might say Jodie. But I still think that, for all those reasons, setting the mold, guaranteeing the survival of the show, Patrick Troughton is the best Doctor.
Well, that's our answers. Do you have any opinions? And remember, if you want to let us know, we're looking for the best Doctor, not your favorite Doctor, not the Doctor that you grew up with, not the one that, is the one that makes you feel best. Who's the best Doctor? I think it's a slightly different question. I'm probably just splitting hairs, but I enjoy it. And let us know if you want to on Twitter or any other way you want to get in touch. It should be interesting. But that's all we've got time for in this week's episode of the Doctor Who podcast from radiotimes.com. As I said, we shall be back next week to discuss Flux episode 1. Very exciting. It's been a while since we had a new episode of a new series to talk about. And we will hopefully be back with more interviews, controversial questions, discussions, and behind-the-scenes tidbits. Until then, I've been Huw Fullerton.
I've been Morgan Jeffrey.
And we're about to go and take a dip in a lovely acid ocean. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Thanks for listening to our Doctor Who podcast. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to never miss an episode. And for more brilliant Doctor Who content, check out radiotimes.com.